Welcome back to the ESPN Esports studio. Darren Kwilinski with you today, and school is almost out. And you know what that means? Time for the College League of Legends Championship. And to help us with that, to break it down, Miles Yim coming in from the West Coast. Miles, lovely to see you. It's been a while. Let's jump right into it, and let's break down the field, break down the competition for us.
Well, Darren, it's a championship of the top 8 teams in collegiate League of Legends. There are 5 returning teams from last year. We have the defending champions, UC Irvine, Maryville University, who was knocked out in a surprise upset in the quarterfinals, Columbia College, who faced UC Irvine in the final of last year. Those 2 teams meet in this year's quarterfinal. Western University and the University of Illinois, including 3 newcomers to the field. So the top 8 teams out of over 300 potential schools, all meeting at the LCS Arena in Santa Monica to see if either UC Irvine can repeat or we crown a new champion.
Thanks for bringing us up to speed, Miles. Now let's talk a little bit about number 1 and number 2, Maryville and UCI, respectively. Now, Maryville was a 2017 champion, but UCI is going for the repeat after being 2018's champion. You spent some time with UCI. Why don't you give us a little bit of insight into them?
Well, UCI, from their perspective, believes that not only they are the best team in this tournament, but they're the best collegiate team in all of collegiate esports. In their opinion, they sort of occupy this sort of nebulous position between an amateur team like Radiance, who has their players spend all night and day training to become an academy or LCS player at semi-pro level, and one of these collegiate teams. So UCI, it's mostly an internal thing. They feel like they are their own worst enemies, and if they can pull things together in scrims, if they can execute their game plan, if they can get the picks that they want and play the style that they want, it should be another title for them. Unfortunately, the road is, of course, rockier because they play Columbia College in a best-of-3 where anything goes in the quarterfinals. But for UCI's part, it's difficult to see any of these teams beating them, even Maryville. In the BIG playoffs, they beat Maryville, upset them as a lower seed. So they've been great in the past. Now it's time to see if they can back up that talk.
Are you questioning the seeding of this tournament, saying Maryville number 1, UCI number 2, but UCI is still going to come out on top? We're going to copy-paste that one for later. Now, let's finally talk about
It's my California bias.
There you go. Let's talk about college esports on a grander scale. Earlier this year, Heroes of the Dorm basically ceased existence. To me, that makes College League of Legends the de facto premier college esports draw. Now, where does college esports go from here in general?
It's a big question, Darren, because the mechanics and the structure of collegiate esports are still very much in flux. If you look at this year's Collegiate League of Legends calendar, you saw that we've actually added 4 new conferences with dozens upon dozens of teams now being eligible for the very tournament that we're covering this weekend. It's ever-changing, it's nebulous and shifting, and the way that people were drawn to Heroes of the Dorm is in large part because Heroes of the Storm was a really inclusive game. It's a very easy game to pick up. There are no items. You know, you talk about builds and maximum ideas about how to play your characters the best in team comps, but there is a level of difficulty on entry to League of Legends and Dota 2, on a different note, that you just didn't have with Heroes of the Storm. And so that there was a lot of accessibility, and that was sort of where the popularity drew a lot from. Also, it's a really fun game to play. League of Legends, I think, for the collegiate MOBA scene is probably going to be the main draw away from Heroes of the Dorm. And I think the ecosystem needs it. It needs the kind of mainstream or high visibility coverage that can say to other schools that haven't invested in their teams the same way that UCI has, that these clubs don't need to be clubs anymore. They can actually be under the official school umbrella, and more visibility and the better that this tournament does goes a long way to making that argument.
Miles Yim with the wonderful insight. Fantastic answer, Miles. Thanks for the time. And for more esports coverage, including the Collegiate League of Legends Championships, keep it locked right here on ESPN.com/.